Hello, I'm Rick Joyner. Thank you for joining me for this special bulletin on current events. And, you know, there are major issues surfacing right now in America and, of course, in much of the world, but we're addressing mostly the things that are happening right here in our own country right now. And, you know, a study was done recently about the political makeup of America. And what it determined was that we were a center-right nation. That means if you took the extreme left and extreme right, moderate being right in the center, America was a little center-right in our basic beliefs and of the majority of the citizens. And they took a scale and said if you took a scale from 1 to 10, with 1 being extreme liberal, socialist, Marxist, the extreme left, 10 being the extreme right, America came down as a nation at about 6.5 on the scale. Okay, now I believe that's probably pretty accurate. And, you know, there were some shaking that took place, you know, of course, last year with the stock market, you know, disaster, or I should say crisis, you know, of many people losing most, in some cases, of their retirement funds and things. I mean, we've been through an incredible economic shaking. And I could really understand some people wanting to overreact to that situation and get the government to control it. And the government really should have been in better control than it was. There was a lack of regulation in areas where we really do need regulation. And I tell you, I am not a libertarian. If you think that's where I'm going or where I'm coming from, that is not the case. I do believe in government. I believe in a strong government where it is supposed to be. I believe in keeping the government out of where it is not supposed to be and where it is doing a very poor job, where we'll always do a poor job. We don't want the government going there. And but there are some places where in the modern world, we cannot have the modern world without a strong, wise, efficient, effective government and regulations. There were some missing that really did help set the stage for the incredible crisis, economic crisis we went through last year. But this, you know, what we're doing, we're having an extreme overreaction. Now, if you remember the scale we talked about, extreme left over here at 1, extreme right over here at 10, and America's about a 6.5. Well, with that crisis, whenever there's a crisis in America, historically, Americans have turned towards the government, towards liberal, you know, political solutions, what we would call liberal. Some are now trying to call progressive, but left-leaning answers, stronger government, more government. And I think America, in the shock of what happened, did say, let's go that way for a while. We were missing some. We need to go that way a little way. And they were expecting President Obama to come in and steer things that way, more government regulation and some areas. But I don't think anybody was expecting the kind of radical proposals and changes come. We were expecting maybe a 4.5 on the scale, maybe a 4 towards the left, but it's been like a 1 or a 2, about as extreme as it can get. And as I circulated in a written special bulletin on our website, where I took this amazing article, this, you know, editorial that was in Pravda, the great Russian newspaper, where they chided America for falling into Marxism so fast. They called the American people sheeple because we were just caving into Marxism. And they are shocked. The Russian people are shocked. The Chinese people are shocked at what's happening in America right now. Believe it or not, even though the Chinese communists are still in control, they are moving China away from all Marxist principles. They've started economically, which was their plan, because communist or Marxist economics absolutely do not work. They will seem to work for a while if a nation is wealthy enough so that they can plunder the wealth of that nation to support their Marxist principles until the wealth is gone. That's what happened in the Soviet Union, and that's why there was a collapse of the Soviet Union. It went bankrupt. They had sap the wealth of the nation trying to support a system that doesn't work. So it bankrupted the nation. They had no choice but to let the people free. Now, China has done it a little more systematically, but they are shocked that America is turning to Marxism, which has been absolutely proven not to work, will never work, cannot work. All it will do is plunder the wealth of a nation until it bankrupts it, and then you've got to turn back to a basic free market system. Nothing else will work with mankind. It just won't work. So why are we turning towards Marxism? And that's obviously what we are headed towards. That's what this administration, its policies have been Marxist policies. They may not know that. They may be shocked at us calling them that. Because, now evidence is mounting very strongly. In fact, it's become pretty overwhelming. No, they really do understand that it is Marxist. But even if we give them the benefit of the doubt, I don't care what you call it, it's the same thing. It'll never work. It'll sap the wealth, it'll strip the wealth of the nation, like what happened in Zimbabwe, and then everybody is impoverished. The whole nation is stripped of its wealth and its strength. And that's where we're headed if we don't put the brakes on, if we don't stop. Now, my prayer has been that Obama and whoever's advising him would wake up. They can't do this. They're not going to be able to jerk the whole nation all the way to the extreme left with that extreme reaction. And we're starting to see the beginning of that extreme reaction. And if the pressure keeps on us to, no, we're not going to compromise going to this extreme left, the reaction's going to get stronger and stronger. There's no question about that. This tension will not last. It will not give. There will be an overflow of the tension that is building. Now, my prayer is that Obama wakes up, his advisors wake up. Wait a minute. We really need to think about what we're doing. And God send them some good counselors that can help them get us out of this mess. But the division within the country, under the Bush administration, we were 6.5 on the scale nation was being drawn in some areas over to maybe 7 or 8. And a lot of people over on the liberal side, they were under incredible pressure and reaction and all, and it builds a tension when you get away from that center line of what we are. And of course, the mean for America, the best point for America is actually that 6.5 that leans a little bit to the right. But the tension is growing because we're going to extremes now. So what are we going to do about it? The last option is not prayer. The first option is prayer. We need to pray for our country. We need to pray for our leaders, for President Obama, everyone, even those we are in shock that they could even gain leadership in this country. Start praying for them. Praying for God to send them Josephs and Daniels, wise counselors, and to relieve this so that we don't have a continued fracturing of the very core and fabric of the nation. I appeal to you for this prayer and this intercession for our nation. We do, as Christians, need to be engaged. We need to be involved. We should be involved in every area of our country. We're supposed to be the salt and light. We should be involved in government. We should be involved in, from the community right up to the national level. We should be engaged. Christians should be the best informed and the most engaged in every level of this, because we're required by mandate from God to be the salt of this earth and the light of this world. So we need to be engaged, but let's don't demonize those who differ with us. Let's pray for their salvation, their enlightenment. Let's pray for ours. We've had a tendency to go into some extremes too, and overreact, and we all know in part, as it says in 1 Corinthians 13, so we don't have the whole picture either. We need to have some humility too about where we're going and what we're doing. But, we are headed towards, if the pressure is kept on, extreme reactions. And I want to talk about that in our special bulletin and what we as Christians need to do about it. Join me, please, for these special bulletins. Thank you.